All right, some of us are not happy with the current condition of our lives. Some of us wish things were different in the past. But maybe, just maybe, God did not give you the light earlier because you did not want it. Learn to take responsibility and accountability for your current condition, for your health, your money, your family situation, your education, your finances today and the future. Because maybe you didn't want it. Maybe God didn't give you the light. He didn't give you the answers sooner because you weren't ready for it. Many of us reject the light. I could think back many times when I was 12, 15, 18, 21, 25, where there were people who would try to give me jewels and give me the right knowledge and give me the education. But my pride, my anger, and my bitterness were rejected every time. If it didn't come from the person I wanted to get it from, I didn't receive it. And God will send people that you're not ready for and you're not prepared for just to show you what's wrong with you. Because the truth is, you didn't want it. You didn't want the responsibility of victory. You didn't want the responsibility of promotion. You didn't want the responsibility of getting that master's degree and that doctorate. You wanted your freedom. You wanted to be happy right now. You were having too much fun getting attention for being bitter, because bitterness attracts people. It attracts other bitter people. And unfortunately, there are more followers than there are leaders. There's more losers than there are winners. So as long as you're bitter and as long as you're a victim, you will always have hundreds and thousands of friends. You will always see a million chickens walking together, but you will never see a million eagles flying together. That's not the way Earth works. The winners are usually few, the losers are usually many. So oftentimes when you're filled with bitterness, you will have many more friends as long as you remain bitter and you're all upset and angry and you're all blaming the world for your problems. God didn't give you the light sooner because you didn't want it. And when he did give you specks of light, when he did give you proper people and proper opportunities to step up, you didn't take it. And as soon as that opportunity came, it left even faster because you really didn't want it. Jesus said it himself. He said, don't give pearls to the swine and don't give silver to the dogs, because they're going to destroy it and then destroy the person who gave it to them. And that's very true. Because I still remember a moment in my life when I was bitter and I just became a hater. That's how I could recognize haters now, because at one point in time, I was the hater. And there were times when I would see men doing good and I would say, yo, they acting white, they sold out to the game. But that was just me being bitter. They weren't acting white, they were playing the game right. They were wearing three-piece suits and driving Jaguars back in 95 and 96, and they did it without selling drugs. But I was going through a period of bitterness because my life fell apart and I was depressed. So every time I saw a black man doing good, I called him a sellout. And I'm not the only one, because I was surrounded by other bitter men who helped me hate. And it's not even embarrassing anymore, because I overcame that. Because after a while, I got tired of being the hater. And some of those men that I was hating on would come back and lift me up and tell me, look, you can do it too. Go to school, save your money, stop smoking, stop drinking. And because God is still real, he was still speaking to my conscience. I would catch myself talking to these men on a humble by myself, because I couldn't do it with my bitter friends, because then they would call me a sellout. And if many more of us are honest, we would admit, I'm bitter and I'm angry and I'm depressed, because I know I can do better. So how do you avoid that? You stay around other ugly people. As long as the picture's ugly, you have an excuse and you can pretend you can't get out. But when you get around better people, you will start to see that these opportunities are available for anybody. Any one of us can choose to get healthy. Any one of us can choose to go to the gym. Any one of us can choose to read a book. Any one of us can choose to stop watching porn and go to college. Stop playing video games and go to college. Anybody can do this. There are so many ways to improve your life, and you could do it at any age. My daughter started her first business at 12. We was watching Shark Tank, and then we went on YouTube and found do-it-yourself videos. And then we found Junior Shark Tank on YouTube. And my daughter saw all these young girls making money at early age, and she decided to do the same thing. So if my daughter could start a business at 12, you can start one at 22, 32, and 42, and 52. It's never too early and it's never too late. Accept that responsibility of promotion. The truth is, we were failing when we were young because we didn't want it. and we had our excuses for it. We blame our parents. Yo, why didn't you educate me? Why didn't you teach me? Why didn't you do it? We blame the church because we want to blame God, because we don't like our life. But be honest, were you even ready for it? Were you even looking for it? Did you even want it? Because when that opportunity comes, it comes with responsibility. Once you enroll in college, you have to go. You have to read, you have to study. And then you're surrounded by people who are just as good as you, so now there's competition. As long as you're a hater, as long as you're a loser, there's no competition. Because you're just sitting around talking about other people while you ain't doing nothing. And that's the truth. And if you really want to know more truth, I mean, I could talk about this for 88 hours, but depression is the lack of action. That's where depression comes from, not doing anything. That's where bitterness comes from, a lack of action. Because you're angry about an event or a person or a place or something from your past, but you're not doing anything to fix it or heal it or forgive it. And you don't even want to heal because healing is painful. And it's gonna make you vulnerable to being hurt again. So if you just sit down in the mud, dirty and hurt, you can't get hurt again. But if you heal, now there's the opportunity for you to be hurt again. But that's what depression is, it's the lack of action. If you get up and do something, if you get up and heal, you're not gonna be depressed anymore. If you forgive, you're not gonna be bitter anymore. And now God's light comes. But we don't want that light, because now there's accountability. Because every person you hurt, every person you hated on, you have to repent for that. Then you have to admit you could be a winner too. But then you have to admit how much time you lost. So one of the reasons people stay in these living cemeteries is because if they come out, they're gonna have to admit, I'm 40 years old and I wasted 20 years of my life. I'm 50 years old and I wasted 30 years of my life. I'm 60 years old and I wasted 40 years of my life. That's even worse than the bitterness and the depression, is the time you wasted. So many people never admit they're haters, and they never confess to the bitterness. Because you're 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years old, and you have to admit you wasted your life being a hater. That's painful, thinking about how much time you wasted, knowing you could have been a winner yourself. So a lot of people, like Benjamin Franklin said, they died at 25, but they were buried at 75. That's one of the realest things I've ever heard. And it's also true, because I think about the 2 years I wasted being a hater. Well, I could have been an engineer years ago. I could have started businesses years ago. I could have been a preacher, pastor, apostle, evangelist years ago. But I eventually got myself together. I didn't waste my whole life, but I do think about the years I did waste. And with God's grace, I'm still gonna win. It ain't over yet. But get away from bitter people. Get away from depressed people. Because depression is a lack of action. Procrastination is a lack of action. And it just leaves you sick. And I give you a gym example. There's a man and a woman sitting at home. They're both 400 pounds. They're sick and they're overweight. They're sitting in the house drinking beer, eating chips, crying about how fat they are, blaming the government, blaming Monsanto, blaming McDonald's, blaming everybody, the doctors. I'm sick, I'm fat, and I'm unhealthy. But then if you go to the gym, you'll see a man and a woman in that gym. Both of them are also 400 pounds. But guess what? They're not depressed because they're taking action and they're doing something about it. That man and the woman at the gym who are 400 pounds, they see beauty in the mirror because they're doing something about it. They're not depressed, they're taking action. But the people sitting at home, they're depressed. And they're looking at the skinny people, fantasizing, wishing, making themselves more and more bitter and angry. And they're also wasting time sitting at home complaining. But that man and the woman at the gym, that 400-pound man and woman at the gym, in 2 years, they're gonna be 300 pounds. In 2 years, they're gonna be 250. In 3 years, they're gonna be down to 200 because they did something about it. And guess what? They're not depressed because they took action. Now that's just the gym health example, but it's the same thing with business. It's the same thing with education. It's the same thing with being an entrepreneur. It's the same thing with being a parent, a good brother, a good volunteer in the community. Anything God called you to do, you have to do it. And you could have done it sooner, but you didn't want it because it comes with responsibility and discipline. So we have to be honest with ourselves. And a lot of your depression and a lot of your bitterness is a lack of action. And the longer you wait, the harder it's going to be to turn around. Because no 60-year-old person wants to admit they wasted 40 years of their life being a hater. because you'll never get that time back. What they eventually end up doing is creating their own philosophy to make more excuses about why they never changed. Then they dump that philosophy on other people. And now you're trapped, being a bitter, depressed person your entire life, following them because they never changed. You can change today. Accept the light and repent from your own sin. And then admit the time you already wasted, and then make a promise that you'll never waste another day. And we can finish talking about this later, but you have to want it. Peace.